And this is a technique that is very important to me because it helped me a lot during my early years of all this. Because if you're a perceptive person and you're a bright person, you do attract a lot of negative attention sometimes, or all the time. And that can feel pretty rough. So you might feel extra anxiety in public, or you might just have nights and days where you feel this extra kind of like weight on your chest. And let's see. Yes, excellent. Yeah, anxiety. Yeah, I was an anxious person, and I've mentioned this other times, but I've been anxious for a good chunk of my life. And I always thought it was just, just part of who I was, until I started working with energy, and I realized, when I focus and when I attract energy, I feel calm and I feel a little better. And then I realized that if I can circulate the energy and kind of move it in a certain way, it kind of moves my anxiety, because I would notice that my anxiety seemed concentrated around, my heart, or maybe my solar plexus, or sometimes my throat, and it felt kind of stuck there, and it felt like hard to speak or hard to breathe, or it just felt really heavy or uncomfortable. And it just felt stuck there, and it would just either grow or become harder, and I didn't know how to make it go away until I started using energy. And it was such a life changer, because I finally had a way to make it go away. So to have an on-demand way to fix yourself and to make that go away, like, say, especially right before a job interview, right before a date, right before maybe a family reunion, you're kind of nervous to see certain people, really before anything that gives you anxiety, you can do this. Or you can do this before, yeah, as I mentioned, before the events. You can kind of get things pumped up and get things polished and shiny, and you can kind of walk into situations and find it harder for things to affect you negatively. So you can do it before a situation to prepare yourself, or after the fact and you're already anxious and you just want it to go away, then you can do it as well. So let's go through the self-clearing technique, and it's super useful, and it kind of builds on our previous skills while adding in a touch of healing, which we haven't really covered yet. This is a very basic healing approach that can work on yourself. It can work on people next to you. It is more suited for an in-person healing, but you can copy these same tenets and apply it to our remote work, which we'll be focusing on in this coming month, actually, is remote access, remote healing, etc. But for now, this is more of an in-person healing technique, and it's focused on yourself, but really you could use it on other people as well. And so let's dive right into it. So it will help to be relaxed. So just take a few deep breaths and remember optimal posture. So imagine that your head is dangling from a string, which pulls your head up. And then you're going to imagine your tailbone is kind of has a little weight dangling from its bottom. So then your bottom is coming down a bit. And just breathe like that and feel like you're kind of hanging in the wind, kind of dangling like a wind chime. Just do that for a few seconds. And remember to feel like you're breathing through your stomach, your belly's expanding, and not just your belly, but your lower back. They both expand when you breathe in. They come in when you breathe out. And just relax for a second. So the main tenet of this technique is to charge your hands with energy. And then you're going to run these hands over your body in a certain way and across your aura, so to speak, to clean it and to pull it free of any intrusions, influences, implants. You can get even more occult and say spells, demons, anything really, anything that's messing with your energy, you can remove it somewhat magnetically by using charged hands. And so we haven't tried anything like this so far. We've had exercises where you charge up your hands, and I probably mentioned here and there, oh, you can also use it to kind of clear yourself up, but this is the full technique. So first off, we have to charge our hands with energy. And here's a little story I have for you that's somewhat embarrassing. But back when my anxiety was really strong and I just had to get out, I would literally go to the restroom. This was actually back in high school, back when I was first learning Qigong and Qi stuff in general. So I'd go to the bathroom and I'd do this a few times just to kind of equalize my body a bit. But eventually it just transformed to my hands just being together like this. Because I was doing martial arts at the time and I knew how energy felt against my hands. And so I'd breathe in and breathe out. Remember to keep optimal posture. And the goal is to make a dense kind of cushion of energy between my hands. And so you can have it come in and out like this, which does help you to eventually feel that denseness of energy. You can hold it still if you wish. So as you're in that optimal positioning and breathing, you're going to bring your hands together. And our goal is to, as you breathe in, we're bringing in energy from our surroundings through that breath. And it goes down into your lower belly or your dantian, which expands on both sides, both the front and the back. So you breathe that in, you breathe in that energy. And then as you breathe out, it goes up the back of your spine, through your arms, and to your hands. If that's too much to kind of juggle and focus on, just imagine breathing in, energy just comes in from all directions, even through your skin. And as you breathe out, focus it to your hands. Imagine there's a little black hole in your hands, or that your hands are magnets and it just pulls energy to it naturally. You don't have to push it to your hands. Pushing it usually is less effective. You want it to be pulled there naturally. Place your intention in your hands and know that intention naturally attracts energy like a magnet. And just try that for a few seconds. You can close your eyes if you wish. You're not going to miss anything. I'm just sitting here. And imagine breathing in, it pulls into you. It's almost like a hole is opened up in the bottom of the ocean and water just swirls in naturally. There's no effort needed. It's just how it works. And then as you breathe in, it really swirls in between your hands. And as you were doing before, you might also include your hands having movement for this. So you breathe in and you breathe out. And your goal of doing this is that over time, you're making a denser and denser energy field between your hands. Though technically what we're doing is we're making an individual field around one hand and the other hand, and you're feeling them collide and press against each other. So technically it's two fields that we have here. But you might feel it as a ball, and then you often hear the term chi ball or psi ball or something like that. Technically it's two fields, but you could be advanced and something like that. But for our purposes, it actually is better if each hand has its own field. But it's okay. Don't overthink it. For now, just realize I'm pulling in energy with my breath. I am then either pushing if it makes sense, because you are pushing. You can imagine pushing energy in, but try to also imagine it being pulled in naturally because of your intention. And then if it helps you to feel this kind of subtle feeling better, if it is a bit subtle, imagine combing your hands together like this. Because of the shape of them being like a comma, their fields are more nuanced, kind of bent. So it's easy to feel that crease. It's easy to feel that shape because it's not just a generic flat kind of rounded shape. It's extra textured. And so you can feel that texture a little easier if you do something like this. And it does feel stronger faster, I will admit. So it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, all any of this is it's whatever you feel comfortable with that brings a feeling to your hands, that brings energy in. And so, of course, you could do tree pose, which is, I will admit, the hardest pose to accumulate energy, but it makes your body stronger so much faster, and it brings energy really fast and really tangibly. So you could do tree pose for a while, which I will not cover again because oftentimes I go through it all again. The video is back there if you want to go through every step. It was a very thorough video. So you can do tree pose. You can do what I just showed Magnus earlier, which is to breathe in, breathe out, and you're trying to kind of pump energy up and down through your body. And as you do this, you will feel your body react more to the movement of your hands, almost like the area way above where the hand is reacts earlier and earlier because the fields are getting bigger, and it affects the fields of your body stronger and faster, so that you feel shifts just by almost turning the hand around. You feel like your tailbone kind of become active because the energy is already going down. And then when you turn it at the bottom, you kind of feel it in your upper ribs and maybe even the top of your head. And as you progress with that technique, really quick, I'll just go through it. You can really just do the turning of hands and you'll feel your energy fields change, which goes back to my yin yang video, which again is very strong magic. It's very strong prayer. To be able to affect energy fields just by turning your hands and imagining yin down, yang up, and growth. Anyways, so the various techniques to get energy here. So don't feel like you have to follow very certain steps to make this feeling. It's whatever you like to do. It's totally your preference. And I mix it up all the time. But in any case, let's pretend that you have chosen the one that you like and you've done it for a good enough while that you feel the field here. And it could feel like a little extra heat. It could feel like a bit of repulsion. It might feel cold, which is rare, but it's really cool if you can make it feel cold. I rarely make it feel cold. I've always been a heat-oriented person and dense and magnetic. I could probably do cold if I tried, but it's just not my style. But I always appreciate those who naturally just have cold energy. It's not a bad thing. Anyways, so we've built up our little field here, right? So now we're going to give the self-clearing technique a try. And so keep your hands together. Don't follow what I do just yet, okay? Keep building that energy as you're watching me. And so the self-clearing technique is most noticeable when you do it on your head and your face. And so to get this going, we're going to do that first. And so all you have to do is, as you're focusing and you're growing that field and you're feeling that field come to life in your hands, you're going to take it and curve those hands towards your face and push it up and over. And well, so yeah, don't do it yet. And if you're doing it already, I say go for it. I just don't want my voice to interrupt what will be very subtle perceptions. So what I feel when I do this is, first off, we have our field here, and then I'm turning it towards me, and you might feel some activity in your heart and your ribs already if you have a big field, which is great. If not, it's okay, because a subtle field also can do a lot of work here. So you turn it towards your face, careful to kind of keep your breathing going. If you do your breathing here and then you stop and you do this part, that energy goes away pretty fast. So don't let that happen. It's like a flame that you're giving oxygen, then you turn off the oxygen, it's going to go out. It'll stay for a little while, but you really want to keep it going strong as long as you can. So keeping that breathing going, keeping that optimal posture going, turn those hands towards yourself and slowly come up, and it's like you're washing your face. You can almost imagine like you're holding these kind of pools of water and they're just kind of slowly running over your face. And you know what? I say go for it. If you guys have not done it yet, do exactly what I say right now, coming up, please. So keep your hands together, have it come towards you. You're going to go up for your chin very slowly over your face. You're going to slowly go over your forehead, especially the top of the head. You kind of just feel around, almost like literally you're trying to like comb like mousse or shampoo or something through it. And then after a little bit of that, come down to your ears, which always has energy stuff going on. I'm not sure why, but the ears just do. Maybe because they're essentially holes in the head. I don't know. And just try to feel the fields of your ears. And then just come down through your temples. And really, you put your hands wherever you feel they need to be. Maybe the eyes, forehead, cheekbones. Temples usually always have something going on. I can endlessly pull things out of my temples, but that's the next part. We're going to go into pulling things out next. But for now, just get a feel for your head. And try adding variation to how close and how far away your hands are to your head. Because we're not just trying to affect our physical head, we're trying to clean the aura of energy around our head, which often has a lot of gunk and a lot of residue from being out in public, from being around other just kind of nasty people. They don't just stick things in your body. And it doesn't just affect your body's energy, it affects the energy around your body. And oftentimes, a lot of your discomfort is because that field is dirty, it's gunked up. So, okay, so Magnus just says feeling pretty good, like a spa treatment. I can totally agree. All right, so I know it's really hard to stop doing this if you have a good field going, but please come back to where we were just for a second so we can discuss some things. And as we're discussing, feel free. Oh, and here's another one I like to do. So we can do this and hold it static. You can do this as you're breathing and waiting and watching. Or you can do this. And I really like this one because you can also change from yin to yang. Excuse me. I breathed in some spit there. So for this exercise, you do not have to put a ton of focus in, okay, this has to be yin, this has to be yang. I kind of misspoke there. So really, it's just making an energy field, but in a different direction. And having it twist kind of adds a dynamic quality to the energy. If you try to make one yin and one yang in this position, it's strange. You could definitely try it, but if you're not used to it, it's going to feel uncomfortable and kind of like too close for such a nuanced reaction. But hey, if you want to do advanced mode, make the top hand yang, or sorry, yin and push down, make the bottom one yang and push up, and just kind of feel that cancellation of energy. But again, I think it's too complex for this move. Really, all you need to do is make a basic neutral energy field. There's no need for yin and yang here, unless you want to experiment and give it a shot. But I think it will just distract you from what the real goal is, which is to clean yourself. Yin and yang, well, we'll get into that, okay? That's the next part. So, moment of silence, because I'm talking a lot and I know it can be distracting. So just remember the basics. Don't forget. Chain the top of the head, pulling up that spine, dangling from it as you feel the weight of your body pulling down, a little weight in the tailbone so it's stretched out. Breathing in with your lower belly, lower back, so they both expand. You feel that stretch, which feels really good in your torso, and then as you exhale, they both come back to normal. All right, are we in a good relaxed state? So go back to building up that field again, because it probably is lessened a bit. As you do the head stuff, you do kind of get lost in it sometimes, and you kind of don't keep up the breathing sometimes and the focus, and then it usually deflates a bit, and that's fine. It happens to me all the time. It's totally fine. It's a part of the technique almost. So you kind of spend it all and you do that a bit. You try to maintain it, but you do kind of lose its potency after a while. So you got to come back and build it up again. But since you're already in an excited state energetically, it builds up in seconds. So you will very quickly feel that heat again or repulsion. And you can use, the comma, because it's kind of like a comma, call it the comma technique, you could say. You can do the static technique or the, I guess, expansion. These are not official names, but just build up that feeling again. Build up that field. Feel what it feels like. You can mix all three. Go for it. All right, we're going to do it one more time, but I'm going to be silent. And now I want you to pay attention for a very particular sensation. So we're going to go and give our heads a wash again. But I want you to feel for any clicks or pops or sudden openings that pop open in your head. And if you don't feel that, that is the goal, okay? And so to make it easier to happen, what you're going to do is you're going to feel around until you feel like a density or like a knot or something. You feel something there, okay? And the goal is to pull away your hand so you feel like you're kind of unrooting something. And if you try and you can't quite get it, come back in so you can kind of get a firmer, deeper pull on that root. And then you're going to pull it out again. And you can go really far. You'd be impressed how stretchy these things can be. And eventually, as you go further and further out, you might kind of realize, oh, I don't feel it anymore. I lost it. So then you just got to come back in, get a feel for whatever you felt, and try and pull it out again. Yes, so give that a shot. And I'm going to be silent for a while, and I'm just going to do it along with you guys. So if you're already doing it, come back for just 1 second so we can do it together. But now let's all charge up one last time to do our head one last time, okay? So make this the one for all the marbles. And if it helps, remember, you're pulling an energy not just from right next to you, but push out a bit more. Pull energy out from outside your window. Pull energy out from the sky above you or from the earth below you. Or if you got some ether, you could always, because you're using both of your hands, it's kind of hard to hold it, but just to get started, you can hold it for a while, kind of feel what that energy feels like. But let's do that separately. For now, just make your own feel. It's important to be able to do this on our own. So make it as dense as you can. And try to open your heart a bit. It's tricky sometimes, and I've had a very closed heart sometimes just because of what I have to deal with, being surrounded by all these creepy fools, you know. But if you could open your heart a bit and get some heart energy in there, it gives it a lot of sweetness. It gives it a sweet energy. And honestly, opening up any of these chakras will only help you do this better. But that's probably going to be the next part. That's the final part of the technique. So for now, just do what we've been doing and make that basic field, charge it up, and make it as strong as you can, and then let's go for it. And I'll be quiet for now. We're going to go ahead and give our heads one final clearing. And begin. And once you feel comfortable enough to do so, bring your hands back down. And I'm curious if you guys are able to or wish to share if you're able to feel any differences in your head. Did you feel any of those cracks or pops? Because those are really nice when those happen. Otherwise, I'll tell you something that I experienced. I actually experienced the ceiling crack. And sometimes you will notice that your house will shift as you're doing this technique, because you are affecting fields within you that apparently are so strong when you open them up that it causes shifts in the materials around you. And so oftentimes, especially in older houses that have a lot of like pressure points that want to equalize and they're like just barely there, just by doing this technique, for some reason, it causes those to go like to want to level out. And I don't fully know what that means, but you might notice your house creaking more when you do this move with a lot of energy. I've noticed it happen at work too. When I go to the changing room and I want to do this move for a little bit, it creaks in there. It's very interesting. So if you guys don't want to type right now because you're really in the zone, that's fine. But I am very curious to get some feedback, at least by the end of this lesson. So if you don't want to talk now, remember your feedback for later, because I do want to hear. But if there is no feedback for now, I'm going to go ahead to the next part of the technique. So maybe your head still feels like, oh, there's still stuff there. Okay, so we do have some feedback. So felt some kind of energy on the right side of my head and put it in my hand and pushed it out into the room. So pushing it, that's interesting. So usually I pull things out, but by pushing it, that could also work quite well, actually. Yeah, it does feel good. All right, push or pull. Oh, I see. That's a good idea. Yeah, I always kind of go with it like just like uprooting, but I like the idea of adding a push at the end. So that is definitely something you can do. And I guess I'll mention one more tip. The top of the head, the crown chakra, always needs clearing. The thing is, it's actually really, and this is a good point. It's really tricky sometimes to know that your head is clogged with something until you do this technique. Because you might be walking around and going like, I feel good. I feel good. I feel sharp. I feel awake. I don't think this is going to do anything. And then you build up and you do the technique and you clear stuff that you didn't realize was there. And then your head feels even more clear. You feel even more present. And you feel even more sharp and brilliant because you're clearing your connection to the divine, the connection to your higher self. And that is where your brilliance comes from. And I essentially just channel that. So I rarely use logic these days, and I rarely like come up with a conversation in my head. I just make myself clean and turn off my brain pretty much and just connect to that. And all the truth you need will come through, and all you have to say and need to say will pop through naturally. So, so that's a good reason to really clean up the crown chakra. That's where your brilliance is, and that's where a lot of power is. And you rarely ever notice it's clogged, ever, unless you do this. Truly. Even myself, I don't really know until I do this. I realize, oh crap, I'm so much more open now. Huh. So it can really be hidden well within you. And also because the crown chakra is like the least physical chakra, so it's kind of hard for us to relate to it, I imagine. Anyways, yeah, so spend a lot of time up here and also high up over the head. Eventually you want to start clearing like way up here. Because I feel clean when I do this stuff. I didn't notice much, especially after the length of our live stream. But now as I go up higher, I feel stuff. So there's stuff that you can miss depending on how close or far away your hands are. And I will also mention, you might not just feel it right here if you're doing this. You might feel it in like your spine. Or you might feel it like lower in your head or at your heart. Because we are a system of energy. So clearing and opening up a major part of it doesn't just open up that little part. It's a whole flow that we are now improving the flow of. It all is holistic. It all connects to each other. Anyways, just another tip. I think I've now said everything about head clearing. I guess, okay, one more thing I could say. So I mentioned how you kind of are imagining water come out of your hands or steam. But I like water or steam because of the way it billows and the way it has a natural swirling motion. So you're kind of imagining energy come out of your hands and swirling into your head. And imagine your skull is empty and you imagine it kind of crashing in and swirling around and just swirling and scrubbing free anything that doesn't belong. And so you can do that within your skull. You can also do it within your bones, your teeth, your jaws. Clean the bones. Okay, have energy go in there and swirl around and scrub it. And as you improve your energy strength, you can really push that in and scrub in deep, deep, deep. DNA deep, karma deep, deep, deeper than you can possibly imagine, deeper than this physical body is, you know? Oh, and you heard a few things cracking? Well, good. That means you're doing it right. You don't have to feel a crack. It just means that you had some stuff that probably needed to be removed. If you don't feel cracking and you're doing this right, it means you're just a really clear person this day, but maybe you won't be the next day. Maybe you'll go through public one day and just feel kind of like, ugh, feel whatever, kind of normal, what we think is normal. And then you go and do this and you realize, oh crap, I was stuffed with stuff. Look at all these cracks and pops. And then you're done and you're like, your head feels like stained glass or maybe just clear glass. It's just so clear and you become much more perceptive. And so I will warn you that if you do this move and you go out into public where you know a lot of nasties are, you're going to feel them more acutely. But you'll also have energy accumulated, so it'll kind of be like a natural armor. So you'll be more perceptive, but more protected, which is great for research and great for testing out techniques. And people around you will notice too that your energy is cleaner now and that your aura is cleaner now. That you will have more eyes looking at you. So this is also a good way to become more appealing, and to become more alluring, and to become more inspiring. Is to have clean energy and to have clean flow, because you will feel like a mountain breeze. I'm using a lot of poetry right now, but it's poetic. It's a good thing.